Hello everyone, I'm Nini FC and this is Blue Lions TV. Welcome to the match review of our 1-0 win over Videoton tonight. And you know what, it wasn't the greatest of games, but throughout this match review I'm going to be talking about some of the players' performances like Morata, Emerson, Rubin as well. I'm going to be talking about Sarri and his team selection. I'm going to be talking about why it was difficult to break down Videoton tonight. Plus, I'm going to be talking about other things as well. But you guys, you know what to do. Smash that like button. Help me get more than 500 likes for today's video. And I think the first thing to start with is with that team selection by Uncle Sarri. There was some disappointment, you know, for people like me who are advocates of youth and want to see our young players getting a chance. It was disappointing to not even see Callum Hudson-Odoi on the bench. Ampadu started on the bench and didn't come on at all. It was just disappointing. It was just disappointing, you know, especially after today when you've seen Jadon Sancho and Mason Mount getting called up to play for England. And if you're Callum Hudson-Odoi, you really need to start being assertive with your career now. You have to start making big bold decisions right now. I mean, is Chelsea the right club to really help you progress and give you that game time? I mean, this is the type of game where you need to play at least some minutes and to not even be an option on the substitutes bench. To have someone like Victor Moses playing over you for the last 15 minutes, what's that really saying? And Callum Hudson-Odoi needs to think, you know what, I'm going to have competition for the England national team as well. There's guys like Sessegnon that have been playing over him. Guys like Madison who was called up today as well. Lukeman, don't forget him. And Amari Gray as well. So it's not going to be as simple to get that game time playing for England. Still though, and it's just a theory from my end, so don't take it too seriously. What if there's a reason why Chelsea aren't using Callum Hudson-Odoi now? It's obvious that the club have been making numerous efforts to try and get Callum to sign a new contract. And we know how Chelsea can be when players don't give in to their demands. And maybe Chelsea are applying pressure to Callum Hudson-Odoi, saying that, you know what, we're teasing you by putting you on the bench quite a lot. Sign this new contract if you want to start playing. But it is understandable from Hudson-Odoi's position that you're not going to listen to what Chelsea say, because quite a few young players have made that same mistake. And there's been so many examples of not utilising the full potential of some of these great youth players that we have had. So it makes sense that Hudson-Odoi is going to take his time and really consider this. Now moving on to Videoton. And really, in terms of how they were playing and how they approached this game, it wasn't really any different to other tactics we faced throughout the season. Of course, I thought it was quite obvious that if they were going to park the bus, they were going to be very compact in the middle and keep their shape there. They did want to force us out wide and really make it hard for us to play through them. And they wanted to close the channels between the lines as well. So they did a pretty good job of that, I must say. You know, they have been on a very good confident run of form recently. The players are really up for this, the coach is really up for this as well, and they really played with all their effort and all their might, so credit to Videoton. And they had some decent counter-attacking opportunities as well, so they really did their country proud tonight. But moving back to us, and you know, talking about the tactics isn't as interesting in this match review, because again, it's the same tactic we faced and it's the same outcome from that. And really, I'm going to be spending my time talking about some of the players and interesting things throughout the game, starting with Rubin and I have to say he was very good in midfield. Now, it is quite frustrating and it does make sense. We have to sympathise with his position. You know, he's barely played, he's coming on. You know, we can't expect him to just turn into, I don't know, Pogba overnight. That only comes with game time and confidence from the manager. Hopefully, with Rubin keeping his fitness there, and if he is fortunate with his health as well, he should be playing more. And I think that his performance today, it was a promising one, because I think it told you there's more from this guy. And we got glimpses as to what he could offer us. You know, for example, some very nice runs to the middle of the pitch, and to have that ability from your midfield player who can drive, attack the spaces and, you know, create possibilities for the team was great to see. I've always felt with Rubin, he's very elegant with his running style, very elegant with his dribbling style as well, and he always knows what he's going to do with the ball before he receives it. I think the guy has all the trademarks of being a top-class midfield player, and I think that it was a decent performance that would definitely keep the manager wondering about him. And anyway, moving on to Emerson, I think with Emerson, other than one or two slight mistakes, and I really think with Emerson, most of his mistakes come down to his positioning, similar to Moreno at Liverpool. A lot of times he's positioning himself very high up the pitch, and I don't think he's really come to terms yet with how the team press as a unit and the positions they take up. So I've started to think that could be the possible reason as to why Sarri isn't using him as much. But I think going forward, as I said, you know, I like that he does attack the spaces and he does like to get to the byline. And when you have a fullback that is comfortable running at opponents, that just frees up even more space and creates other opportunities. And it's good to see, and hopefully we're going to see Emerson get more game time in the next following weeks. When it came to Cahill and Christensen, that was pretty interesting as well. And really, when you see these guys play, you can see the contrast between them and between Rudiger and David Luiz. And I always keep mentioning in videos, I see Rudiger and Luiz as like having additional playmakers at the back, especially with how they like to play the passes between the lines and how they play the passes centrally and start attacks from deep. It really does speed up the urgency of our game. And I feel that with Christensen and Cahill, they don't really provide too much of their passing. You know, to be honest, Christensen's natural game is to carry the ball from defence into midfield. That's what's always been his game. Unfortunately, because we are using a back-two system, there's no real possibilities for Christensen to be able to do something like that. It's not as if Jorginho's that great defensively where he can cover a defender. We have to talk about Alvaro Morata. And finally, thank God he scored. And when you saw his reaction to scoring a goal, you could feel like a weight's been lifted off of him. You know, the players are really supportive. They were all hugging him. And hopefully, this is going to be a turning point for Alvaro Morata. Again, I have to rate the persistence to try and get in these areas. He's not hiding at least. But that miss earlier during the game, you're just thinking, it's going to be one of these games for Morata. But I think today, it actually wasn't too bad. Other than that chance he really should have buried. And I think that if he scores that, his confidence will be much higher. But I think his overall build-up play wasn't as bad. You know, let's be serious. It wasn't as if Videoton were really trying to press us high or being very aggressive when it came to closing us down. So there was space and time for our players. But with Morata, it was just an average performance. It was decent. Let's see if we can get more from him in the following weeks. To be honest, throughout this game, I just kept thinking to myself, it was as if the attacking players were playing as individuals. I think that moments where they could have played a pass, they were taking shots. Moments where they could have released the ball earlier, they were holding on to it. And in a way, you know, it's a bit understandable. It's not as if this team that played today have played much together, so they're not going to have the feel and rhythm for everyone. But it wasn't the greatest performance offensively. We had tons of possession in Videoton's half, and we was really slow with our manoeuvring of the ball. You know, we weren't playing it quickly from left to right. And as I'm saying, you know, there was this emphasis on players playing for themselves instead of really playing in the system. And that was slowing us down in the final third. But anyway, you know, it's 0-0 at half-time. It gets to the second half. And Sarri makes a very early substitution. Eden Hazard comes on. He does replace Pedro. It makes sense. Pedro's just come back. With Eden Hazard, moments in this game, you just see his quality, you see his ability. By far the best player in this team. He had moments here where he could have got an assist in this game to continue his fantastic form, but those opportunities weren't taken. Yeah, Sarri makes another substitution. Instead of taking off Kovacic, he does replace Rubin for Barkley, and you know, we're starting to get this impression that I think maybe Sarri might favour Barkley a bit more. I'm not too sure as to why. When Barkley did come on, there were, you know, he had one or two good moments. You know, his first touch in the game was that shot from distance. So you're thinking, okay, he started things confidently. This is good to see. Come on, Barkley. Great start to the game. And to be honest, the performance was average. We didn't really get any new dynamism in the team. There were times where he did lose the ball unnecessarily, you know, overhit a pass. But again, it's typical of Barkley. One or two decent things and then other, you know, one or two bad things as well. There's never any consistency there just yet. But with the confidence that Sarri has in him, and, you know, Barkley gave a very good account of himself during the press conference. You know, he's very receptive to learning and, you know, he's really enjoying playing under Sarri. And he even made that point about, you know, if he had a coach like Sarri earlier on in his career, he'd be a much better player for that. So that's good to hear from Barkley. And let's see if he can step up and take things to another level. Still, we do make it 1-0, and it was fairly disappointing. And it makes you think that when you look at our quality of options on the bench, is it as good enough? I'm not too sure just yet, but let's see what happens as the season goes on. If anything, you know, the Europa League is good for us because it's going to force Sarri to rotate, which is going to give time for our best players to rest. So it's going to be interesting to see. But again, I didn't really feel there were any standout performers in this game. I think Emerson and Rubin were probably standouts in a sense, but it's not as if they dropped an 8 out of 10 or a 7.5 out of 10, let's be serious. But they were still good, promising performances. I thought Cesc was decent again, and you know, it's clear that Sarri rates him as well. Again, there's a reason why Sarri's picking the first team, because it's the quality of the first team's play, with how they move the ball, with how fluid and quickly and dynamic the players as well. The quality from playing out from the back, and how we create attacks and create numerous attacks. You know, it's not the same with these backup players, which is understandable. But again, I just have to say, I'm going to remember this game for the disappointment of not seeing any youth players playing again. Yes, Videoton played well, but I'm sorry, I'm not going to buy this excuse of if Callum Hudson-Odoi played for 15 minutes, we could have risked losing the game. Of course not. If the first team players are playing really poorly and not even winning the game casually already, why is it that we automatically assume that a youth player is going to flop? I'm not too sure, you guys, but that's going to be the end for today's match review. Please like, comment and subscribe. Help me get more than 500 likes for today's video. I'm the EFC. This is Blue Lines TV. See you guys later.